I am Monique Burns. I am in Detroit, Michigan today, and I am making a video on how to pass a Section 8 inspection. And today is particularly exciting because I'm not doing this in my office, and I am doing this actually at a house that just passed, and today is the move-in day. And I have a special guest, and that is my husband, Pat, who has gone through hundreds of these inspections. And he agreed to go on film today very reluctantly. This is one of those happy wife, happy life moments. So I'm running with it. I'm going to film him going through the house, what all you need to pass a Section 8 inspection, because I don't do that part of the business. I'm in the office. The only time people meet him is when they come here to do a tour of our Detroit properties. So what we do, my husband and I, we buy houses in Detroit, we renovate them, we place the tenant, and then we sell the properties to investors from all over the world. And we do offer tours to our investors who are about to buy a house. Another thing that we do is my husband is really good at these inspections and choosing properties and choosing neighborhoods, the whole construction end. So we, between the two of us, I'm the office property management landlord end. Between the two of us, we do offer consulting. And this is something that he can do. He can walk through a house because each house is different. He can walk through a house and let someone know, like in this particular house, he can let you know what kind of things that an inspector will look for. So I'm also very excited today because this house, I made a before video. I never do that. I can hardly catch them before they're already in it and have them all torn up. So I got pretty close to the beginning of the renovation of this one. And I had Jeff, our head renovator, go through and tell me about the things that he's doing. So I have that video I'm going to produce, but I'm also making a video of this house to sell the house. We do have an exclusive buyers list, and we've got a few people on the list right now that I have told about this house, and they're really excited to see the video. And I'm a little bit nervous because I think I might have talked to too many people. I'm working with somebody right now with a mortgage, and you can get mortgages now in Detroit. So that opens up a lot of people that didn't get to used to buy before. So I'm excited to show people today this house. So I've got a couple of videos up my sleeve. Be sure you have subscribed so you see these as they come out. Let's key up the intro so you know who my husband and I are a little bit better. Let's get started. I was showing this to my husband, Pat, and it's on HUD's website. It's called A Good Place to Live. And supposedly, if you do everything in this list, you will pass a Section 8 inspection. But right away, Pat read the list and he said, boy, there are things that are not on this list that he is going to go over in the video. Another thing I wanted to talk about is there's the city inspection, and then there is the Section 8 inspection. I have asked at the City of Detroit if I've passed a Section 8 inspection, why can't that just apply and I don't have to go through a whole city inspection? The city inspectors have a book that they follow, and it's very specific, and they all come up with the same sort of things to pass a city inspection. Whereas with a Section 8 inspector, they can be a little bit more, not a little bit, they pick things that are cosmetic. And sometimes they actually miss things that are safety issues. But the city said, oh no, you can use that Section 8 inspection if you can get your Section 8 inspector to sign off on his inspection, that he followed their big code. Apparently none of them will sign off on it. So what we want to stress in this video is, again, every house is different, every inspector is different, but there are some similarities. And if you are in Detroit and you're nervous about passing a Section 8 inspection and you want to use Pat's consulting to come over and walk through with you, that is definitely something that he can do. Or if you're looking at buying a house, should I buy this house? What would it cost me to get it to the level where it would pass a city or a Section 8 inspection? that's something else that Pat can do as well. We're going to give you some specific things that aren't on this list. So this is my husband Pat, and he's got the list in hand of a good place to live. And what was it that you noticed, like, right off the bat?
Pretty complete, but it really depends on the inspector you get. And it depends on the Section 8 office or PHA that
Public Housing Agency.
you have. So there's a few things on here that they don't include that are really key things. So if you notice on the ceiling here, there's no light in the ceiling of the living room. Very typical of a Detroit home. But what is required if there's no light in the ceiling is a plug that works on a switch so that they can have a lamp to just turn on and off. In this house, we do have a plug that works on a switch by the front door, so that's acceptable for them. The majority of Detroit homes that were built in the 40s, 50s, and even earlier, when they were built, the electricity was just a two-wire system. It had a hot and a neutral and no ground wire. And at that time, they used plugs that had just the two prongs, and then have come out with the adapters put on the end of that so it grounds your vacuum or whatever you're using, TVs, stuff like that. So when you go to a house, one of the big things they check, because it is a safety issue, is that they check the plugs to make sure that they're either grounded or they're the two-prong outlet for that. The difference in that is when you get to the kitchen and bathroom, and it does not say that in the handout, and I'm very surprised because no matter who it is, what organization you're working with, you have to have a GFI plug anywhere within 6 feet of water.
That's just like a general, it doesn't matter which PHA or even if it was a city inspection.
It doesn't matter.
Standard,
it's a
right?
standard code. We do our GFI plugs. We run a new line from the kitchen into the bathroom, and from the laundry, we run a new grounded line to the panel.
How do you know if it's grounded? Isn't there some little tool you buy?
Well, there's a tester that tests and tells you right off the bat. You just plug it in and it tells you. So that's the thing about a GFI plug is they have a tester, they put it in there, and then they do a trip on it. There's a button on it that you can trip it to make sure that it's working right. If it's not working right, you can put the tester in, hit the trip button, and if it doesn't trip, you know that it's ungrounded. As far as windows, biggest thing about windows, and it does not say this in here either, is that the window has to be weather sealed well. It has to open and close and lock. But what it doesn't say in here is that when a window is open, it has to stay open. That is actually a real safety issue. If a child opens a window, thinks it's open, lets it go, and you've got 40 pounds of glass in frame, I mean, you're certainly breaking fingers and hands. That's not in here. So you gotta make sure that all your windows stay open when you open them and that they lock. As far as your flooring in a living room, it has to be acceptable. It doesn't have to be brand new carpet. It doesn't have to be all new stuff, but it can't be worn and dirty and, ready for a replacement.
Have we ever on a re-inspection had them tell us we had to replace the carpet?
No. We either always do hardwood floors, which is preferred, but in this house, there was no choice. The hardwood floors were too gone, so we had the carpet in the living room, and then we put down new laminate in the dining room and the kitchen, and covered those up that way. The other thing, when you're going from room to room, you cannot have a trip hazard. It has to be a smooth transition within a ½ an inch. Another thing that it does not say in here is that for each outlet in your house that you have, if you have any gap between the wall and the cover, it's not acceptable. They can say that kids can put their finger in there if it's open. Is if you buy the preferred, they're in acrylic plastic cover, so when you put the screw in, it doesn't crack the cover. The other ones are plastic, and they'll call you out for just a broken plate cover, even if it's just a screw hole. So in the kitchen, what we do, and I mentioned the GFI, so we there was a plug here, and we put in the GFI so that it's got the trip and the reset button on it. And if you notice this plug next to it, when we ran a new line, as long as this plug's grounded and you have this one connected to that line and then this one over here to that line, all three of those plugs trip if something were to happen, or when you test it, those three plugs go dead. So anywhere within 6 feet of water, you have to have a protected plug.
What stuff in kitchens maybe come up in a re-inspection?
A lot of times a re-inspection, it's standard stuff. It comes that the faucet's loose or the faucet's dripping. Those are basic repairs. In all of our homes that we do, we change out all the kitchens. You can see this is a brand new kitchen with cabinets, backsplash, new countertop, sink, faucet, new plumbing. We've put in PEX plumbing. So it's all new. We, majority of the time, don't have any problem with any re-inspections or down the road with maintenance very often because everything is new. So,
we do have a re-inspection problem. Let's go in the bathroom and I'll remind you. One that has come up for us. We had a tenant who every time it got inspected, if we wanted to pass that inspection.
Yeah. So when the Section 8 inspector comes, they just write down everything they see. Sometimes, if you're lucky, they'll write down the things that were tenant caused. And one of those tenant caused things at this one house for 10 years that the girl was there, you can see we retiled this surround and redid all this so it's nice and clean when somebody's moving in. And it was the same where she moved in, but she never cleaned her shower. And every single year on the inspection, they wrote it up that it needed to be cleaned and mold removed. And so every year, I scrubbed the shower down, they'd come back and look at it and it would pass, and that was ridiculous. They don't tend to make the tenants keep up on their end of the bargain is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of things.
That's a really frustrating thing for us. When you do inspections and you see tenant damage, like the handrails.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen over the time from when they move in to the inspection at the 11th month. And a lot of those things are handrails. Now, handrails are not mentioned in this handout either, but you have to have a handrail on anything over 3 steps, going upstairs, downstairs, and the front porch. Other big thing is, and it doesn't say it in here, and it's probably reasonably new, is the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. You have to have a carbon monoxide smoke detector on the living level, one in the basement near the appliances, and then you have to have a smoke detector in each bedroom now. So
is that a smoke or carbon?
that one there is a smoke and carbon combo.
Haven't we had an inspector not know they were combined before?
Yes, the guy that inspected this house actually, well, you don't have smoke and carbon detector. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's 2 of them in the house. Well, I didn't see them. It's right there. So it really depends on your inspector. We're in this house too that the tenants moved in today, and he wrote it up. The front porch, the peak on the house looked like somebody threw an egg at the house, and he wrote that up, that it needed to be cleaned. And I'm thinking, where does that lie in the safety and health of a tenant? Granted, it should get cleaned, I guess, but it wasn't a health and safety issue. A lot of inspectors, unfortunately, some of them are in a hurry. They've got a lot of inspections, and some of them don't even check the plugs and check the stuff. We do the stuff because, there are properties and we like to have them right, and then, we don't have to worry about accidents happening. So here, one of the other big things about the bathroom that's not in here is that in Detroit, they have fantastic old cast iron bathtubs that hold the heat for a great bath and all that kind of stuff.
And they're deep.
They're deep, not like new tubs that are much shallower and made out of, just steel, and they don't hold the heat, stuff like that. Is that you can't have any tub that's wearing, no wear on it, or chipping paint. Over time, a lot of people just paint them themselves and then they start to peel. So make sure your tubs are either reglazed by a professional so that they're stripped right and then reglazed correctly, and then they last, a long time for you.
How long do they last when they get reglazed professionally?
I think they guarantee it for 10 years, the guy we use, because he does it right. And it's not that expensive. The other thing about Detroit homes is that they were built bulletproof. I mean, they're plaster walls, they're cement, base floors in the bathrooms, where they put the ceramic down and stuff, and the tile surrounds are on cement. So getting a bathtub out of a home is not an easy task. So if we can keep the tub, we do, because we like the old tub, reglaze it, and it's like brand new and you're all set. So this one we left, and we happened to tile the front of this, and the tub was in good shape, so we're just leaving that alone. We put some tile around the surround and stuff like that. The other thing about a bathroom, and this usually comes up in a basement half bath, is you have to have a window that opens in a bathroom, or you have to have a fan. Majority of Detroit homes, when they were built, didn't have fans in the bathroom, so you have to have a window that opens. So in the basement, where there's a lot of half bathrooms in Detroit basements, an inspector, if they want to, will call you out that there's no ventilation. So if there's no window, then you can't have the bathroom. You have to get rid of it. Or if there is a window, typically glass block is what we put in all the windows, you have to have a vent window in it so that you have ventilation. When it comes to re-inspections for Section 8, the big things that we come across are people taking the batteries out of smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Carbon and smoke you're pretty safe with because they have a built-in battery that's not changeable. They're good for 10 years. So those don't get messed with too much. But smoke detectors, that's the number one thing, is a smoke detector doesn't work and you go and they just took the battery out.
What is your theory? You go out to the house before the annual inspection and make sure everything's right, or wait till the inspector?
My theory is, and I've been doing Section 8 inspections for about 15 years, is when you know you have an inspection coming up, you call your tenant and you say, hey, the inspection's coming, make sure the batteries are in the smoke detectors, make sure it's cleaned up, stuff like that. I believe you just let the inspector come and do their inspection and write up whatever they want, because if they can't find something to write up, they will find something.
Yeah.
That's my experience. There's some guys that we've worked with, same inspectors for years, that, they come and you know who they are, they know you, and not that you get away with anything because it's on them if something were to happen. But, if they come and see a smoke detector doesn't have a battery, they say, hey, get that done. And you carry batteries in the truck and you just change the battery and you're good. But there's some inspectors that are paid by inspection and they're going to find something, kind of like I feel on this house with the egg on the front. He could have said he found nothing in the house wrong, nothing whatsoever in the house, but wanted to point out the egg on the front. So that to me tells me that they're after another inspection fee.
Do you think it's worth it with everything that we go through to pass an inspection to rent to people with Section 8 or not?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I think, for one, I like Section 8. It keeps more people accountable. It keeps landlords accountable, because then your house is up to standards. When they give you their approval, your house is up to standard for safety and health. Mm-hmm. And that's a good feeling. If something ever were to happen, you can say, no, we did have smoke detectors. They all function and worked on this date. And if something, God forbid, were to happen with a fire or something, and they say, oh, well, there's no smoke detectors in the house, you can say, well, there were. We have the inspection right here. So I like Section 8. I think it's good. And I think it's false. A lot of people believe Section 8 tenants aren't good tenants. They're great tenants. A lot of them.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them are good tenants. Everybody, is kind of after the same thing. A nice, safe, pretty home to live in.
Yeah. What are some of the craziest things besides the egg that an inspector came up with?
So on the outside of the house, in today's day and age with lead poisoning, you have to have everything in the house has to be sealed and painted. And on the outside, it has to be scraped and painted or wrapped in aluminum, all the trim and the fascia and the window trim. And I understand that. But we had one house where the peak of the house, which was 25 feet off the ground, had a little section of peeling paint. And usually their requirement is anything 6 feet and below has to be done correctly.
No peeling paint.
No peeling paint because of kids, 6 and younger, so that, kids aren't reaching that point. But he failed it because of that. Instead of just saying, hey, get that taken care of.
That was the only thing he could find.
It was the only thing he found. So that's why I say when an inspector's coming, sometimes it's almost better for them to find something, because otherwise they're gonna find something.
Right.
As far as inspectors go, I have to say, we've had good luck with inspectors. You brought across, an odd one here or there that could be difficult, and usually not for health and safety reasons, but more of cosmetic reasons. And I think that's a result of our times right now. There's a lot more inspections going on. Detroit is a big rental market, so there's more people having inspections done. And with the city getting on their game with city inspections, there's a lot more inspectors out there. So, a lot of young guys, and they're trying to do their jobs right. They're just new to the field too, and they don't want to, get caught doing something that isn't right. But overall, we have good relationships with our inspectors. We don't have many problems. The handout is good, but some of those things I mentioned, make sure you do, because they will call you on those. Yeah, there's plenty more to go over, but if you're interested in that, I also do that. So I can come by, take a look, and give you my opinion and what I've learned over 15 years of doing Section 8 inspections and city inspections and lead inspections.
So thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about investing in Detroit, I've got that playlist there. Or if you want to subscribe, I've got that one there. And I talk about all my Section 8 secrets here. And right here is my latest upload. Thanks for watching.
Bye.